These are the biggest movie surprises and disappointments of the year so far. Captain America Brave New World is a movie I liked more than other people, but it was still a pretty big disappointment. I genuinely thought this was going to be like a really great MCU entry. Like, we have Harrison Ford coming into the MCU as Thaddeus Ross and the Red Hulk set up to be a great villain. And I fell for a lot of the marketing that was like, oh yeah, we're getting back to that like Captain America the Winter Soldier kind of spy espionage type of vibes, and I was all there for that. And those elements are definitely in the film, but just nowhere close to the quality of them in Captain America Winter Soldier. Outside of a few action scenes I really like, and I do just enjoy seeing Sam Wilson as Captain America, he is going to be the leader of the new Avengers, and I feel like this movie did not do a good job of setting that up at all. Keeping it with Marvel, the Thunderbolts was such a pleasant surprise. If you go back to my videos from last year saying like, oh, what Marvel movies I'm most excited for, I was way more hyped for Brave New World than this. But I'm so glad I was wrong about this movie, because this is legitimately like very close to a top 10 MCU film in my opinion. I absolutely love the team dynamic. They're super funny together. The action is a lot more grounded and feels real compared to a lot of other recent Marvel movies. It also isn't afraid to get into some more serious topics of like depression and dealing with that with Sentry. I thought how that was handled was absolutely perfect. This is probably one of the best musical scores we've ever heard in the MCU. So many scenes are elevated by the music itself, and simply I just love these characters together. I really just hope that the Russo brothers do not butcher their characters in Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, because I need to see a lot more of these guys together going forward. I got to see Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning early, and obviously I won't give any spoilers here since it's not even out yet, but this was a pretty major disappointment to me. Now, it's not a just bad film similar to Captain America Brave New World, but compared to my expectations, like the previous Mission Impossible movies are all pretty amazing. Like, outside of Mission Impossible 2, almost all the films I give an 8 or 9 out of 10, and this to be like the big grand final movie in the entire franchise just felt like a big letdown in my opinion. It's probably like the slowest movie in the entire Mission Impossible franchise. Like, it's almost 3 hours long, and it legitimately takes you an hour and a half into the film to really get to like an actual action set piece. And once you get to that one in the middle of the film and there's one at the end, those are absolutely incredible action scenes that are probably some of the best in the entire Mission Impossible franchise. But those are like the only two big scenes in the film that are actually memorable. The rest is them just talking about the entity AI villain, exposition dumping who he is, having so much nostalgia bait, bringing back so many characters that you probably forgot about unless you just rewatched this entire franchise in the last week. Tom Cruise is of course incredible as always, doing his own stunts. He has some really good character moments with like Luthen, Benji, Grace in this film, but like I said, this is my second most anticipated film of the entire year, and it ended up being like a 6 out of 10, just a fine enough film. Looney Tunes of the Day the Earth Blew Up was such a pleasant surprise in multiple ways. First of all, I was surprised to even find out this movie existed, because it just got dumped in theaters with almost like no marketing or advertising, and then I was surprised all over again when I actually went and saw the film, because this was actually pretty hilarious. I used to watch a lot of like the original older Looney Tunes cartoons as a kid because of my parents. I felt like this movie did a great job at capturing like the OG Looney Tunes just zany style of humor, while also having a lot of like modern jokes that didn't feel like corny or cringy. It's a pretty hilarious movie, and I think it comes out on Max late June, so I definitely recommend checking it out then. I got to see Karate Kid's Legends early, and this thing is just such a disappointment. Now, to be honest, my expectations for it weren't really high. I was thinking it's probably going to be like mediocre at best, but it was even a letdown from those expectations, because this is essentially just like the Karate Kid if it was just worse in every way, shape, or form. You have a very similar story. Obviously, now you have this kid, he moves to New York and obviously starts like training this one other guy, and obviously there's a karate tournament involved. Big surprise. It's just like the same exact formula over and over again. We're really trying to nostalgia bait you super hard with bringing back like Ralph Macchio and stuff like that, which like, yeah, it's cool to see him back in this movie, but it's pretty much only for the nostalgia and a wink wink at the screen to be like, oh my god, that's the guy from the original movie. Serves no other purpose, and just kind of a very meh film overall. There's like one fight that's kind of fine in the movie, and the love story is just so unbelievably cringe in my opinion. I'm a big fan of Steven Soderbergh's movies, but I wasn't really that excited for Black Bag, but this really was a pleasant surprise and still in my top 5 favorites of the entire year so far. People describe it as like a spy thriller. It has a lot of those vibes, but it's really more of like an internal affairs thriller following like the relationship of this couple above us, their friends, and the agency they work for, kind of like a whodunit almost. Really just a satisfying movie to watch all the pieces slowly come together to a pretty great ending in my opinion. It also looks pretty amazing. A lot of the lighting and stuff is really good. I love my guy Ki-Hye Kwan. I'm so happy that he has an Oscar, but his career post Oscars has not been very good. Love Hurts was just, again, a super forgettable barely even qualifies as a movie. This thing's like an hour and 20 minutes film that came out on Valentine's Day, following this like mild-mannered realtor pulled back into a past life of being like this assassin. Pretty much another film trying to be another new John Wick, like we've seen so many attempts at, and again, it just completely falls flat. Pretty much everything in this movie is just forgettable and just feels like it was slapped together last second. Legend of Ochi is a film that really reminds me of a lot of like 80s like family adventure films. It follows this one girl and she finds this creature called the Ochi that she's been taught her whole life are super dangerous, but she decides, no, I'm gonna take care of this thing and return it to its homeland. Just a really wholesome movie. Willem Dafoe's having an absolute blast, just being insane in this film like he is in pretty much everything, and it also looks really good. A lot of the like natural landscapes are amazing. I'm still not over the Until Dawn movie, because if you don't know, this is pretty much loosely adapted from the Until Dawn video game that's essentially like a long movie or TV show in itself. Has a great story, super memorable characters, a fun twist, and like the horror genre. This film is just a complete mess. It abandons all the great characters from the game, says we're going to do our own story. They only pull a few random elements from the game itself. Now listen, if you're going to take the name of a game but end up doing your own story, it better be at least as good or better than what you're kind of loosely adapting, but this was just worse in every way, shape, or form. For some reason, it's like some weird time loop movie where they have to survive the entire night or else the night it starts over again, which pretty much just takes all the consequences away, because like, oh yeah, you have this gruesome death, but then the characters are back because the night keeps restarting over and over again. I'm a huge fan of The Weeknd's music. Hurry Up Tomorrow is one of the worst movies I've seen in a very long time. It has a lot of style, some good visuals, obviously good music because it's from The Weeknd, but pretty much everything else is absolutely terrible, some laughably bad acting. If you want to hear my full breakdown of why I think this movie is so bad, click the video above my head, or you can click the other video to see my review of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning.